All right, just calling the 1888 Building Advisory Committee meeting to order for Friday, April 10th, 2026 at 1 p.m. The time is 1:06 p.m. actually. So the first couple items, we've got February 3rd, 2026 meeting minutes. I don't know if folks got to take a look at those. The only thing I noticed was Rob's last name got misspelled in a couple places, so I think we'll correct that. Fortunately, he's not on the call, so he won't notice, but we'll make that change. Any other changes that folks wanted to make to the minutes?
It was March 3rd, not February.
Well, there's February 3rd and March 3rd. Yeah.
Again, it's spelled wrong in March too.
Yeah, Tedesco.
There's the.
You got it right up here, but then wrong down here, so we'll make that slight change.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I read through.
Great. Someone want to make a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved.
And second,
All right, all in favor?
Julie Chalk and I.
Vern, aye.
Kathy Caswell, I.
I don't think I was at that. I'm not sure. Abstain.
February. Your name's down.
Okay, then I'll say yes. Sorry about that.
All right, it's unanimous. And then same question for March 3rd. So a month later, we'll make the same update to Rob's name. And that one, it does look like it was just Tim and the two Julies. So, oh, I don't see Vern on here.
He voted for the meeting minutes. Oh, it looks like we approved the meeting minutes in March.
Sorry about that. I didn't find the lunch with Gray and Alex, and in fact, about walking back time.
Just check.
Got your exercise.
Yeah, we approved the meeting minutes for
December 12th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
We didn't get a February 3rd one. So
Good.
all right, does someone want to make a motion to approve the minutes of March 3rd, 2026?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Melchi, aye.
Vern, aye.
Julie Chalk and I.
Julie Caswell, I.
Kathy Sylvester abstain.
All right, and then so going back to our agenda here. Construction updates. So I sent around a copy of the PCO log that Rob provided. Tom, I might lean on you if you don't mind, just to kind of give us a general status update on where we're at with construction. I know Vern was just saying the windows look like they're going in, so that's exciting. But any other major updates would be great.
Forgive me, I didn't realize that Rob wasn't attending, so I don't have a prepared presentation. But things are going well. When I was last on site, the addition is fully framed up. We were going over some last framing details. They are most of the way through sheetrock in the existing building. The things are going well in the existing building. The one holdup is the ceilings, both the fire protection and the additional IT data cabling are holding up the ceilings a little bit, which is certainly something that the contractor is reminding us of. Luckily, it's a finish level, it's a finish component. So when the stuff above the ceilings gets done, then the ceilings will go in and all will be well. We are working out some details again on fire protection in the addition. I believe that the changes to the second floor have been framed and they're currently being roughed in by the MEP contractors. I think those are the highlights. Anything else, Christopher, you think we should mention?
I know at the construction meeting on Tuesday, the seismic issue came up, which I think that's where you're talking about with the fire protection and the ceilings.
Yeah.
It looks like we've got a meeting with with the with that subcontractor on Monday. I think I saw some email traffic around that.
I'm working diligently to set up a meeting with John, the project manager from WJ Mountford, Paul Urso, who seems to be the point person for the fire protection installer, Everon, myself, Connor, who is the engineer who designed the seismic system through Rand Fire Protection. Yeah, let me touch on that briefly. I was not at that meeting, and I had a lot going on, but I kind of wish I was. I know there was a lot of frustration expressed, and it's not the first time uh, expressed by John from WJ. And let me just say that I empathize with that frustration. I am also frustrated. We've been talking about this for months, and it's really frustrating to, I think, all of us that we just haven't gotten traction and gotten this thing solved yet. Um, we do constantly move closer to having it solved, and at this point, we are literally down to essentially brass tacks. We're down to washers and bolts for this system. So we are getting close to the answers. Um, it is a little bit frustrating that I know John just wants this done because he, like I said, he needs to get his ceilings up. It will eventually become critical path work. Um, I have to say that from our perspective, um, I haven't seen as much diligence and movement on this from either Everon, the filed subbidder, or frankly from WJ for as important as they know this is, as I would have liked to have seen. But we are working on it. We are making progress. Um, I think rather than going on, I'd be happy to answer some questions. I know, Tim, that you expressed some frustration, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
No, I just felt like, nobody was actually taking ownership of the issue. And I mean, from the owner standpoint. So I was the one that suggested get all the people at the building and discuss it and solve it because it's been 3 months at least
Yes.
when we started talking about this. And whether I agree with the engineer or not, it's going to cost the town a lot of money if we do what the engineer wants, and none of the other trades that are probably guided by seismic rules are being affected, nor would I want them to, because as far as I can tell, that building's been there for 140 years, and we don't have like 7, Richter scale events out here. But we need to get it resolved so we can stop talking about it primarily.
Yes. Agreed. Um, I think just to get into the weeds a little bit, John, as the representative of WJ, has certainly kind of passed along this story. Oh, we have a way to do it. It's simple. It's really cost effective. We're just going to use some lag bolts and we'll get this solved and done. And I do appreciate both him and Everon working to find a solution, but they are not ultimately responsible for this system, and the engineer is. Uh, the engineer is acting in the town's best interests for sure by designing a system that is compliant and, God forbid, will survive that earthquake that we hope never comes. When there have been times when the installer has said, "Oh yeah, we've got this figured out, we'll do it." And we have actually said to them, "Okay, if you think that, then we are prepared to turn this over to you and allow you to take on responsibility for this, and someone from your organization can stamp this." And they drop that like it's a hot potato and they say, "Okay, actually, this is for you to do." So that story keeps happening at the job meetings. But the reality is that it's for our engineer to do the design and for the contractor to install it as he designs it. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Absolutely. I fully agree. I wish I had raised my voice a month and a half ago and forced them to all come to the place, because I think they're not talking to each other. Or at
So-
least they're not communicating. What I'm saying is they're not communicating well.
Agreed. And to directly address that, first of all, I'm glad that you said that in the job meeting on Tuesday. I'm glad that that's where we're heading. I do agree that that's definitely the right thing is for us to meet, us being all four members of this team, to meet and come to a resolution, not just talk, but to come to resolutions. To your defense, and frankly to mine as well, we did raise our voice weeks ago, and I feel like I've been shouting about this a little bit every week for a couple of months, to get Everon to the table to ask their questions, and it's been frustrating that it's they seem to have something figured out, and then they ask another big question that kind of pushes us backwards. So. You made the right call, Tim, and we're going to have a phone call for starters. We're going to see if, again, we can get all parties to agree that we've resolved all the issues on that call. If we can, great. If for some reason we can't resolve all the issues on that call, then I will get everyone there on site. It's
Great.
just that a call happens faster, so let's get a call going.
All right, well, thanks, Tom. Appreciate the updates. In terms of solar, I know at the construction meeting on Tuesday, we also spoke with John about the status of that. There were a couple alternates that PV Squared had included in their proposal, so we just need to clarify for him that no, we don't want to go with any of those alternates that PV Squared proposed. And also their proposal had called for, I think, 2 strands of conduit, and so we just clarified only one is needed, so it looks like they're all set to move forward on that. So that should be all set. Meeting room AV, I know Valley Communications has been corresponding with Greg about some elements of the ceiling design in the meeting room. I think at the moment they're all set, but at some point we'll probably want to loop them into construction meetings as they get closer to looking to do their work as well. So that's where those items stand. Rob did share with me a budget, but actually before we jump to that, I want to take a quick look at the PCO log here.
And I just wanted to mention about the AV room.
Yep.
Trevor and I happened to be in the building because we were early for a meeting, and we probably would like to talk with Karen about the front dais, whatever you call it, tables, and maybe modify what we've been thinking about.
Yeah, and we have a furniture meeting scheduled for Wednesday for staff. And I did loop Trevor into that. I think I need to loop you into it. It sounds like he let us know, I'd like this thing to be a little bit more substantial and have some gravitas instead of, basically flexible furniture. So I think we're going to talk with Mallory and Karen about how to achieve that.
Yeah, and I don't know what is in his mind, but I think he had the idea that, well, maybe this is the piece of furniture that we spend and have a custom thing built, and if that costs a few more thousands of dollars, that he says this is our 350th. We're in our 350th year, and I don't want IKEA.
Wait,
Yeah.
which desk is this, Tim? Is this the one up in the select person's office?
This is at the front. It goes by many different names, but the rostrum or the dais where the actual board members will sit in the meeting room.
Oh, okay.
So first floor in the big meeting room there. So I think currently we have a table that has some paneling and would have the seal on it, but it's still kind of intended to be flexibly rearranged. And I think Trevor was thinking, well, maybe we want this to be more substantial and it just kind of stays put.
Yeah.
And maybe an L wing, because we have 3-member boards, we have 5-member boards, which probably wouldn't have any trouble. But when we have a 7-member board, we might need a wing.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that graphic designers can figure out, but I
Yeah.
wouldn't be allowed.
So we'll,
yet,
we'll on the 15th at that furniture meeting, we'll be talking about that, and hopefully getting some.
Not looking
ideas.
for an arc too, is he?
No.
We talked,
Just checking.
we've talked about it, but probably.
And chairman's dead. It's got to be gold finished.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, that's where we're at with those. So yeah, in terms of PCOs, yeah, here's all the seismic bracing for sprinklers that we were just talking about. The one or two things I wanted to flag for folks were the cabling. Yeah. So this was not a fun one. I was just telling Vern before we started the meeting, but essentially we had Entree had a sub they were looking to have do and Entree's our IT support. They were going to do the cabling, and at the last moment they found out they didn't have the proper licensure. So that left us scrambling a little bit to find a solution. And I think we ended up just going with Icon, the electrical subcontractor. And maybe this price ended up being a little bit high. I think Rob was estimating it was going to come in closer to 50. It obviously didn't. So it's unfortunate, but that's where we're at with that one.
Are you satisfied? I mean, we've got a lot of money here. Are you satisfied with what they're proposing? Is that what you're looking for?
But you mean the cabling?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think Rob had a lot of in-depth conversations, and Tom, I don't know if you were involved in those as well. It seems like it's been poured over quite a bit at this point, and everything's there, and it was just a little bit higher than we would have liked it to be, but
For sure.
And it has the built-in advantage that the electrical contractor owns all of that stuff, and they put in the boxes, and they're gonna put the things to the boxes, and it's probably got an upside, even if it's expensive.
A little bit of a premium to have it with
Yes.
it.
yeah. And then beyond that, I don't think we have anything on here yet. I did walk the building with Chief Pachurik and Sergeant Sokolowski at the beginning of this week. So they were looking at external cameras. It sounds as though there's still a way to do some of the internal cameras they wanted to do. And they got a quote from Lee Audio that I circulated. So Tom, we'll probably talk more about that on Tuesday. The other item they were looking at from a security standpoint, we had been mostly going with keypads for doors. Chief Pachurik really wanted to see fobs. I think in his mind, it's a question of when you need to reprogram things, how much easier it might be with a fob versus keypads. I'm still trying to kind of get my head wrapped around what this keypad system will look like, because I'm not sure there's going to be that much hassle involved with it. But something we'll discuss on Tuesday. I think the quotes were, it was 22,000 for the fobs, and then it's like 10,000 or so for the cameras. So just those are still out there.
Are the fobs all sort of controlled wirelessly or something? So you don't have to, I mean, the doors have to get power and all that for the fobs,
Yeah,
right?
there's a whole lot of other costs potentially associated with those.
Right.
Why we initially looked at the keypads, and we're going with a fob for just basically the main entrance there.
Right.
We'll take a look at it again. I don't think we're married to the fobs at this point. It was just a recommendation from the chief, and he wanted to get a quote that we could at least talk about.
Okay.
It did say wiring by others, so so yeah. There's some additional costs not shown there.
So is keypad, is that something that's hardwired, or is it just a physical system that's on the door? How does that?
The latter. It's
Okay.
a physical system. Let's see, where have you seen this? It's simple, like a phone pad, keys on the door. The idea was that this is a good solution because it is relatively simple, but it means that when you leave your office and you forget your keys, you remember your number so you can still get in. That's what we were responding to, that concern of staff. And this is kind of the simplest, easiest, and yes, lowest maintenance way to achieve that.
Yeah, and I think what Chief raised was just if you have somebody leaves unexpectedly, we have to figure out what their keypad number was, all that kind of thing. I think there's probably a way to address this, but I think right now, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, we're kind of waiting for WJ to actually select the actual keypads that are going in, or maybe they've even already purchased them.
Yeah, that's a good question. And you asked the other day. So when we issued the ASI directing this change, we included a basis of design, which I think is a great product, readily available. Of course, this is public, so we can only suggest a basis of design, but perhaps they haven't gotten back to us because they are just going to do the basis of design.
Gotcha. Okay.
Good question. Let's ask that on Tuesday.
I
As
guess-
far as reprogramming, I think these we spent a lot of time speccing these, and these are really robust as far as the number of codes that they can have, how easy it is to reprogram them, etc. So that's why we chose them.
Yeah. I think we'll just zoom in on Tuesday, just so we can speak to the chief's concerns around that, because he is the sort of master of the keys, and we want to make sure whatever it is works for him as well. So.
Sure. Could I just suggest that you take a look at the ASI, because it does have a cut sheet. It has just 1 or 2 pages where it's got a picture of the keypad and it calls out some of the functions of it. It might be helpful to just understand those functions in your conversations with the chief.
Absolutely. And is that on Basecamp, or did you happen to forward that to me?
It is at the very least on Basecamp, and I would be happy to re-forward it to you.
Yeah, that would be perfect. Thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
Any other questions about potential change orders that are on here?
I do. There's a seismic bracing one in here that is issued for $37,540. Is there additional seismic bracing that is still under discussion?
Yeah, good question. And I was a little concerned about that. So if you page back up there are 3 listed right there. Sorry, I can't. Here we go. 35 R1. Only one of them will be the final PCO.
But it's already approved with $37,540 in it and issued.
I do wonder, there's some color coding here that I don't see an explanation for, so
It's the PCO number. I figured this.
Oh, okay,
The
you
top
got it.
normal CO number. So like all the ones are blue,
One,
all them. So all the 4s are
Gotcha.
that brick color.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I do believe that has been approved and included on PCO number 4. The other 2 shall not come to pass. So is there a follow-on question?
Well, you're going to have this meeting next week about seismic bracing. Is this issue not resolved? Is there going to be another one coming?
That is a fair question. In my mind, it is resolved. We issued them drawings. The first one was based on their drawings, which again, I told you once we said, "Oh, are you going to stamp your drawings?" They said, "Oh, why don't you give us drawings?" We gave them drawings. They gave us 35R1, which I then handed over to my engineer. I said, "Please take a look at this, make sure it corresponds to the work." And he asked a couple of questions to make sure that they were covered in the PCO. We didn't get much of a back and forth, but we got this revised PCO. I think their count was off in 35R1. So they revised to 35R2 and said that really covers what's in your drawings. And so that's why we have approved that one. In this meeting that we are going to have next week, it will be interesting to hear whether they think that there is something beyond that. And at that point, we can have the conversation about whether that is actually true or not.
But you said the count is off. What are we counting?
We are counting seismic braces, which are literally, they look like the same steel pipe, but they run at 45 degrees back to structure. And I believe that,
Oh,
so
the old building, right?
yes, correct.
Okay.
I'm sorry, there are some in the new building as well, but for the most part, there are more in the older building.
Isn't that part of the initial engineering? I'm not quite understanding why there'd be such a large miss.
The unfortunately, the miss is in the structural drawings. Those were the initial structural drawings were done before we had a finalized geotechnical report. The geotechnical report, when it was fully run by the structural engineer, indicated that we were in a higher hazard category, and that was not fully coordinated between the structural drawings and the fire protection drawings. And so that was why seismic bracing was a bit of a surprise. That was compounded, unfortunately, by the fact that the structural installer didn't submit their drawings to us before they began installing it. So it was caught by, again, by the fire protection engineer, who I want to emphasize has been super diligent in working with us. It was caught, and it wouldn't have been a big deal. It wouldn't have been as big a deal if they had gotten us their drawings before they started installing things. At that point, we caught it, and then we had to kind of deal with what they had already put up in the ceiling. So that's when things got slid into kind of a gray area and got more difficult.
I trust they didn't have to go backwards. These are additional bracing,
Correct.
or did you have to go backwards?
The only way in which there are going to be some locations where to reach the structure, some of the sheetrock, which is up as a fire barrier, it's not finished sheetrock, it's just fire barrier, may have to be removed for them to access the structure.
Okay, that was my question. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. No other questions from the committee on PCOs? Sharing that. Go back to my agenda here, see what other items we've got.
I guess just one more, sorry.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Additional layer of sheetrock, $10,000. I'm assuming we're talking about fire rating here,
Which one is that?
top of the second page.
Oh, additional layer. Yeah, this one.
Yes, that is required for fire.
And what part of the building is that in?
The addition. The first floor of the addition.
Okay. Okay. Next item we had is budget. Rob sent around this copy. Fortunately, he's not here to speak to it, but you can take a look at it. And if any committee members have questions, we continue to have a healthy amount of contingency. But yeah, Julie, any questions from you? Because I know you are often the one asking these budget questions. So okay, well, that's helpful.
Just curious if, well, we can do this offline. USDA question, so yeah.
Yeah, and that is the next item, so I was going to touch on that. So I have reached out to USDA about the funding split, which currently is 54% town, 46% USDA. Given that we're now about midway through the project, haven't been any huge surprises at this point. I did propose to them that we kind of reopen that conversation around what that split is, because my understanding is that they really like to spend all the money from their grant funds and not have to have it be reappropriated by Congress. So Ann Correa from USDA and I are still trying to connect on that. We're going to talk to them about just the overall split. And then, of course, there's been a couple items, the solar, the meeting room maybe, those kinds of things. So we'll see if it's a change in the split or just, USDA picking up some of these additional items. And I think there's there's maybe been a couple other ones beyond those. Sam, I know you had mentioned at one point wanting to see, porous pavement and the parking, but
Yeah, I was actually even thinking about, I talked with Alex Galloway about, is there any way to create some additional parking towards the ball fields, or if that even makes sense, and all in the context of helping the USDA spend the money that Congress appropriated for us.
Right, makes sense. Yeah. And also I guess we didn't have a building meeting in between when this happened. So one change order was the addition of an extra wall in the select board suite. Realized that the assistant town administrator's office didn't have a full wall; it just had kind of a cubicle wall. Given the nature of that position, and felt the need to really get a whole wall there. So we did have a contract amendment with Kuhn Riddle regarding that, and I think Tom mentioned earlier that wall is now framed out, so that's proceeding. The other item that I think had gotten brought up, I think actually from Matthew or DPW super, and also possibly Alex, was the tree lawn essentially out front on North Main Street. Currently, it's the signature South Deerfield asphalt all the way to the sidewalk. So that's another thing to talk to USDA about addressing. So these are all things that, again, we might talk to USDA about, or USDA might pick those up potentially, or just the funding split may change, or both. So still to be seen, because we haven't connected yet.
I did get a question, and again, I don't know if this is the appropriate form because it's in the weeds, from Peter James of the CPC when I was at the transfer station yesterday, asking about, is there a breakdown of CPC money versus USDA money on what's being paid for? And that's another component with the USDA. They need to understand that we legally cannot spend money on certain parts of the project.
Yeah, sure.
Granted, the old building was the more expensive part of the project, but we've got two issues. So
yep. Yeah, and I can get back to Peter on that one. We have monthly project budget reports, so he'll be able to see what that split is.
Yeah.
It won't say. You'd have to dive deeper in the schedule of values to actually say, oh, this was spent on the new building, this was on the old.
Right.
But given the cost estimates we have for both buildings, there's no chance of CPA funds going to the new building, basically, other than the elevator.
Yeah.
Can you share that with me so I can share it with the committee?
Absolutely. Let me just make a note.
Thank you.
Any questions on funding or CPA or any of those items at this point?
I don't have any other than just what we just discussed. That would be great. Thank you.
Has Matt Morse looked at the parking plan as far as thinking about how to plow it or whatever?
It's a good question. I think back when this first started, we had a meeting where we all sat down and looked at the plan, but
it might have been pre-Matt.
It might have been. So, or Chris, yeah. Yeah. Let me make a note, and I will chat with him about that one as well.
Especially if you're looking at maybe expanding what's covered by the parking. Works for him.
Great. Okay. Any other questions or comments from the committee or anyone else at this point?
I assume we don't have an electricity estimate yet.
Oh, yeah, the usage.
Power usage. No.
Yeah, Tom, the only thing I just want to encourage you to stay with Everon. They purchased most of the sprinkler companies around here, and they're really over their heads right now busy. So they're definitely going to be the fly in the ointment here, getting them to the table.
I'm glad you say so, Vern, because that has definitely been my experience. They seem very overburdened, and I think when John is frustrated in the job meetings, we're right there in front of him, and sometimes he points the finger at us. But I think my reading between the lines, I think he's probably pretty frustrated with Everon as well.
They are behind everywhere.
Yep.
It's not just here. So yeah, it's really got to stay on.
Yes, sir.
On a good note, Charles, you look like you have a very comfortable room there.
No kidding.
Yeah, yeah. I am very comfortable. Yes, working from home today, and yep, slide into the weekend. Not early, but in situ it. So,
Well deserved, no doubt.
oh, thank you.
All right,
And
well, on that note,
Oh, I have one question. What is, I just forgot, what is the move-in date expected to be, if we even have a date yet?
yeah, so I think we've got substantial completion in October or November, and so we've talked, the time we've floated is January 2027.
Okay.
Just give squish, so to speak.
Great.
So,
Okay, good, thanks.
all right. Someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in
Chapman,
favor?
aye.
Tim Hilchi, aye.
Vern Harrington, aye.
Kathy Sylvester, aye.
Celia Caswell, I.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone. Have a
Thanks,
great
Todd.
weekend.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.